Yeah, we're going to be tying the po' boy today in size 2.0. This is a redfish fly designed down in Louisiana. So we're going to be using the 506H, size 2.0. I'm going to use a 210 denier thread. I'm just going to get a nice little thread base up front here where I'm going to be putting my large size painted dumbbell eyes. So before I go completely tight with all the figure of eights, I'm just going to kind of see where it is located on the shank. If I need to, I can push that back or forward before I've gone too tight. I'm going to just push it back a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to cinch it down. So a couple figure eights, and then I'm actually going to come underneath the eyes as well to help lock it in. Okay. And do a little thread base all the way to the bend of the shank. Bring myself back up a little bit so I can tie in my puller fiber. Okay, so the rest of the fly I'm going to tie inverted. This is how it's going to swim. I'm going to be using puller fiber as the top or the wing, and then a craft fur in purple for the body. So I'm going to first just cut a strip of this puller fiber. Okay, so yeah, the strip still on the hide there. So now the hair is kind of naturally flowing down like that. I'm going to grab the bottom end and tease this in its opposite direction, okay? Just like that. So now I'm going to bring it onto the shank and tie it in. And it'll all make sense for you here in a little bit why I've done it that way. Okay, just tighten it up a little bit so that doesn't move anywhere. That could just hang out back there. I'm going to add a couple rubber legs. I'm going to be using Chacon's barred rubber legs, chartreuse clear. This is the wide size, so it's actually a really long, very durable leg. I love these things. So I'm just going to double it up. Cut it in half, and I'm going to tie it in back here. Fold these over, do the same on that side. Okay, as far as length goes, I'll just cut those even. And those can hang out back here. So now I'm going to create a dubbing loop. Just a couple wraps around the shank, bring it around the loop. Then I'm going to come forward to just in front of the eyes that I've put in there. Be just putting kind of my loop off to the side. A little spring on your vise is very handy for that as I prepare my loop now. If it was just one material, I could just kind of slap it in there right now, but I'm going to be adding some ripple ice wing fiber to the craft fur. And this will all kind of make sense here in a minute once I get it prepped. So I'm going to just take some purple. I'm going to cut it off the hide. So I'm just going to lay it down on the table here and kind of spread it out. Okay, then I'm going to just take a small pinch of that ripple ice fiber. I'm going to cut it in half so it's not so long. Don't need much, so I'll just be on my table now laying some of this ripple ice on top of the craft fur that I've spread out. I'll actually be pinching it into a piece of little cardboard that I've made, so it's actually going to look like this. So you've got the ripple ice wing fiber and the craft fur. So now when I stick this in the dubbing loop, okay. So now you can see I have quite a bit coming off this side, the cut ends. I want to actually leave that pretty close to that sizing. I might pull it out just a little bit. That's going to help create a little bit of bulk in this dubbing loop. If I did it all the way long, it'd be really long but very wispy. So go ahead and give that a spin now. Grab my bodkin. Now I'm just going to pick this out. Okay. Now, as I start wrapping around the shank of the hook, my turns don't need to be super tight to each other, just fairly close. And I'm just advancing forward, brushing this back. Yes, it's going to get very caught up in itself. We can pick it out again later. Okay, so here we are. Since I'm going to be bringing the black over the top of these eyes, I'm not really too worried about doing a bunch of X-wraps with this material, so I'm actually just going to come underneath the eyes. And now a couple turns in front of the eyes. Okay, there we are. I'm going to tie this off with 3 tight turns. Give a couple securing wraps over that cut dubbing loop. And we could pause there for time for now. And I'm going to now pick out the craft fur and ripple ice that got trapped as I was wrapping. Okay. Before I bring over my my black polar fiber, I'm just going to kind of part the hair on top so it's fairly even on either side. And now I can bring over the black polar fiber. Okay, so just kind of line it up. Fairly tight as far as pulling forward on it. Oh, and that happened. Okay, one sec, bear with me. Every Tyer's gone through this before. Okay. Okay, so yes, it's a mess right now, I know. We're going to clean it up. So once you've gotten your kind of desired placement on that back, I can now come in and cut the remainder of the hide off. I'm going to make one flat cut here, and then 2 cuts on either side to kind of create an arrow point of that hide so it has a better clean head finish. If there's any random pieces of flash, just pick it out. couple more tie downs here. Cut a little bit more off. Okay. So now I'm going to start cleaning it up. Before you get too far along, all these little pieces that are sticking up out everywhere, they're going to drive you crazy. I'm just going to take a lighter, singe them back. So yeah, often that hide will create quite a step down. You're just going to have to keep wrapping until you get kind of a happy, smooth finish up front there. Okay. Now that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna go ahead and whip finish once I've gotten myself in a good spot to do that. Cut yourself free of the thread. Now before I glue, I'm just going to come in here with my bodkin and start parting the puller fiber around the bend of the hook. Now I can kind of start training it back. There we go. Looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to come in with some glue and finish that head. And there we have it, the po' boy, very simple fly, only a few materials, fairly quick. It's going to get down quick. So yeah, as far as how I came up with the design, essentially we were down in Louisiana. We brought down a bunch of flies we had tied before the trip and quickly found out none of them were heavy enough or big enough. And we ended up bringing very limited materials with us. So essentially this was made the night before our next day of fishing. So kind of sitting around drinking some bourbon, throwing some things together on a hook, and actually turned out to be very successful. So yeah, we started with the black and purple, and then I also did a chartreuse and white one the following night. And then yeah, eventually also more of a shrimpy kind of brown and tan. So anyway, that's the po' boy story. Down Louisiana, drinking bourbon, having a good time.